soldier on the battlefield. I am a hard-fighting soldier on the battlefield. I am a hard-fighting soldier on the battlefield. I keep on bringing souls to Jesus by the service that I give. I've got a helmet on my head, in my hand a sword and shield. I've got a helmet on my head, in my hand a sword and shield. I've got a helmet on my head, in my hand a sword and shield. I keep on bringing souls to Jesus by the service that I give. You gotta walk right, talk right, sing right.
Well, good morning. It's once again time for our Friday's Fighters. I have a guest with me today, Brother Jackie Parrett. Jackie is a member of the Munford Church of Christ in Munford, Alabama. Now, Jackie is a man who's not without his struggles. As a matter of fact, over the course of about the last 11 years, he's lost 2 children and a grandchild to tragedies and cancers. But that's not really what we're here to talk about today. The reason I put that 11-year time frame on this is because for the last 11 years, his dear and sweet wife, Patricia, has suffered with one of the most severe cases of MS possible. As a matter of fact, for 11 years, she has been nearly bedridden, where she gets out from time to time in a wheelchair with total assistance. And so she deals with some things such as that, but she really struggles. And just as much as she struggles, also Jackie struggles, because for 11 years he has had to be nearly her sole caregiver. There are many who help, many who assist the best that they can, but as with many spouses, she wants him there and he wants to be there. He didn't want to leave very long, so he's taking some special time out to come down and talk to us about this. But because of that, we want to get right into it. Jackie, if you would, just kind of back up a little bit. Tell us a little bit about how Miss Patricia's symptoms began, maybe, and what it took to get her diagnosed with MS so you could even begin to deal with this.
Well, we noticed when she'd go to work, she'd come home tingling in her hands, and it started tingling in her feet, and so we, as it progressed and it kept getting worse, we went to the doctor, tried to get evaluated to a neurologist at St. Vincent Hospital, and we stayed over there, and they run some tests, spinal tap, and run tests. And the doctor was, in his opinion, he was convinced that it was MS, but he wanted to be sure, so he sent us to UAB, or Kirkland Clinic, to Dr. Karam Bashir, and he's a neurologist.
Right.
And he's what you call the guru over MS. And so he done his diagnosed and comes up with it's Devick's syndrome, what it's called. But it's a form of MS. It just, it hits quick. And as a matter of fact, she lost her left eye. She hadn't got any sight in her left eye, and but it hits quick. And but that's where we went from there, you know. And it started progressing, getting worse and worse. And she tried to work for a while, and then she worked with a walking cane, worked with a walker half a day. We got the doctor to tell her half a day, and but then finally it just materialized where she wasn't able to go to work at all. And as time progressed, in other words, she become bedridden. In other words, when we say bedridden, I can get her up, but she can't turn over in a bed from her waist down. I mean, not from waist, but under her breast down. It is paralyzed, and so she can't turn in the bed over either side. She can't. Now, upper extremities now she can.
Right. She
feeds herself at times. Of course, she gets the dropsy. I don't know what you call it, but they got a medical term for it, but you drop things. And there's nothing that we can do or have done or hadn't done. I asked a doctor about it, and he said just part of the disease, part of the symptoms. I asked him, was anything we could do, though, anything, but it's just like a roller coaster. One day it will be, one day it won't be, so you can't never tell.
Well, I would imagine even though she has some use of her upper body, she doesn't have a lot of strength in it. Because there's no way to strengthen that when you can't move about. So,
matter of fact, she's getting weaker.
Right.
Yeah, getting weaker as time goes on. And but she still feeds herself at times, and but she's losing ability for swallowing good.
Right.
It's affected her swallowing, and her breathing, expecting her breathing. She's on oxygen. She's got what's called central apnea.
Okay.
Not sleep apnea, but it's central apnea, and that's a neurological part that affects your breathing.
Right.
And so she wears a mask at night, same as CPAP and all, but she has to have that at night to help her breathing. Struggles to breathe. So then we give her breathing treatments during the day. We have to have that. So, but it's taking its toll on her.
Right.
It's a slow progress, and if you don't come for a while, you'll see the difference, from time to time.
One of the things that I know of, and you've told me about, is that her, for lack of better terms, derivative of the MS that she has, this extra word or what have you, it is the type, and of course all MS is this to an extent, but it is the type that is a faster moving, and it's generally more just digresses and never progresses. There's not a lot of outlook, a lot of hope out there that things are going to improve more than, maybe an extra movement of a finger one day than another. But being that said, this is a long road that you've been holding already, and there's no real set time frame of when the road could come to an end. Of course, that would be a reward for Miss Patricia. I understand that, and you understand that. We'll get to that in a minute, but during that period of time, I said again, you're the primary caregiver. There are others who help. I know Miss Opal, that's Patricia's mother. She's Patricia's mother. She's older, but she's there. She can sit and she can clean and cook and help in some ways, but overall, you're it. Now tell me how difficult that is, because as she's been in the bed 11 years, you've been at the home 11 years, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it's rough on her to be in a bed like that and be able not to do things that she wants to do. See, the desire and all is there to want to do stuff and not being able to. And so she has to deal with it on her, herself not being able to do things. I'm talking about simple things, but also I have to deal with being there 24/7, so to speak. Now, people come and sit where I got to go. I got to do things and all that has to be done, but that's the only time I go. But I got to deal staying at home, being confined, that type of thing. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I'm just glad and thankful that God give me the strength and ability to do what I can do for her.
Right.
And I'm gonna say this: when we took our vows, we meant every word of it.
Right.
And by the way, when I had a heart attack, 4 bypasses, 3 broke ribs, and a punctured lung, she was there for me.
Right. Right.
So we took them seriously. Yeah. And it's not a burden to me. Oh, it's hard on you, but it's not a burden. It's not a chore.
Right.
It's a pleasure. I want to do it.
Right.
I'd rather do it than anybody else. Not that I don't appreciate help. I don't mind that at all. But I still want to be there.
Right. Well, that's a Christ-like attitude. I mean, that is an opportunity to serve. It's certainly not one you might choose, not a path you might want to go down, but once you're on the path, it's the path that you have. And I don't know about you, and I've already said this with another person I've interviewed for this same program, but I can say about me that I wouldn't take anything for the struggles that my wife has had and I've had health-wise, because they have strengthened us. They have strengthened me, beyond my comprehension. And so I know that's been the case for you. One thing I want to point out about Miss Patricia is her faithfulness throughout all this, not just to God, but what we see. I think you had mentioned on 2 or 3 weeks ago, Miss Patricia attended the worship services at the Multiple Church of Christ. And that's not something she does once a year either, friend. She does that when she can. And she's not able to take herself, but her family, this man right here, cares enough that when she says, I want to go, even though he sees better, maybe he knows better, because there are other ways. And you do watch the services on the internet.
Yes.
But you get her there, and she is a shining light. I don't know how many people I've met and heard from before that say, I woke up feeling this way this morning and I started not to come, but I knew Miss Patricia would be here if she could, or would be, and she is awesome. And so that's an encouragement. How difficult is it when you do make it to worship with her? That's got to be a task. You get up early?
Yeah, we get up like 5 o'clock and prepare and try to get ready. Of course, I got stuff ready, from the night before, but it's an ordeal try to get her ready and everything, because she can't help you. See, everything's done. It's like rolling and all like this, and she wears a dress too,
Right.
dress or skirt, and so that's a chore. I mean, to get things, cause friction for one thing.
Right.
I mean, people they think it sounds simple and easy and just put it on like we put on a shirt and
Right.
all like it, but it don't work that way. It don't work that way. But it's a struggle, but it's also a pleasure.
Right.
When even though you're going through that and all, it's a pleasure to where you going to church, going to worship, like that. So all the other stuff is media. You get it out of your mind.
Right.
Because you focused on going to, hey, look, this is a blessed day.
Right.
Lord's Day, we're going to worship like this.
Right. Well, I think about her, and of course, this is me talking. I'm not endorsing this or placing this on you or her, either one. But I'll say this in light of that, your situation, and this is I'm hoping to encourage anybody that would see this. If you've got a ball game that you can go to on Sunday, or you can worship. If you wake up and you've got a headache, and I'm not talking about somebody who's just debilitated, and I understand, I have migraines. There are times you can't do and go. But if you have the sinus headache, the complaint, if you would do anything else that day, worship. If you would go to work or go worship, that's more important. And again, Miss Patricia has inspired I don't know how many to push on, press on, and go through that. And I know that she doesn't do that to be seen of men. She does it because, number one, you mentioned a while ago in private, it's all you know to do. It's habit, it's routine, it's what you take seriously, but mainly more than that, it's what you put first. It's the priority. So I appreciate you and her for that. Now, we'll move into something else here just to ask about this. Tell me what kind of thoughts you have on how your faith, particularly yours and hers, I know work together as one, but how your faith, y'all's faith, plays a part in this. What difference does it make? How would you be without it?
Oh, probably wouldn't be here without it, because I struggle. When you get hit with something of this magnitude, not only this kind of disease, any kind of debilitating disease, when you get slapped you in the face and hits home like this, we tend to say, well, it happened to other people. But when reality sets in, so it's a different story. And without God, I wouldn't be here right now. And Trish is really strong. I mean, she's my rock, so to speak. I'm not taking away from God. God is number one.
Right.
Without Him, we wouldn't be where we are right now. But she's stronger than I am, because I look for things that from a human standpoint, and we know God works His way, His time frame, and that's where it's going to be. But sometimes, from a man's point of view, like it, we look like I've been praying for a long time, and we've got a lot of prayers up on her behalf. Need some little evidence, like this to show us, like if that's the man from the human side of it, like this right here. And so you have to weigh things, especially at night time when I go to bed. Look back and I'll not be thinking these kind of things. Kind of have a guilt trip. I know better, like it, but after all, we're human.
Right.
Yeah. And when sometimes things compound each other and they struggle, and you're going backwards instead of forward, you have to be careful. It's easy to get discouraged.
Right.
Discouraged, like this. But so what do? You fall back to God, pray to God to give you strength to get through this ordeal.
Right. And above all, He's going to provide you, number one, with spiritual strength and wisdom. The physical strength may not come for her, certainly, and for you either.
That's right.
But He can provide you with spiritual strength and wisdom, because that is what He's trying with fire anyway. That's what He's looking to come out as gold in the end. And you mentioned a moment ago that she's your rock, and God is, but she is. Well, Paul said to follow me as I follow Christ. And so as long as Miss Patricia is in line with Christ, you're right there side by side, hand in hand with her, you're not going the wrong direction. You're going the same way, even though seemingly sometimes she needs to be in between you and God, just for that little extra nudge, that pull. And that's great. And it's amazing that a lady who could probably not help you in many ways physically can do so much for you spiritually right now because of her strength, her example.
She never has said, all these years since this happened, she has never said, why me?
Right.
Why me? Matter of fact, when we started doing therapy after this hit home and everything, we started therapy like this. I don't care what kind of shape you in, there's always somebody worse shape than you. When we went to therapy, we seen young kids. I mean, parents dealing with young kids that was in terrible shape. I mean, they was a lot worse off than what my wife was. Even though you think, oh man, the world just caved in on you. But when you see that like that right there, and you take a check, see right where you really are, like this, like it's not as bad as it, as we think it is.
Right.
Like this, because you've seen somebody that's worse shape than you, especially a kid.
Right.
Boy, it tears your heart out, and then makes you think back. Well, hey, look, take a reality check. I shouldn't be, thinking this, real. This is my wife. It shouldn't be why I'm picking on her, so to speak.
Right.
So you take a reality check when you see something. I mean, see it, not be told, but see it.
Right.
And boy, you can dig in and thank God and worship God and thank Him for the blessings where you are, right then, and where we are right now. Even though it's a progressive disease like it, we're going together.
Amen.
All to the same place, That's our goal, ultimate goal. Is go to the same place, go to heaven.
Right. Through obedience.
Through obedience.
Through obedience, do what God
That's
says.
right.
Well, you mentioned they're seeing somebody in a worse place, and they're always somebody in worse shape. One thing, though, I want to point out in light of that, reminding myself that sometimes there are people who do not seem to be physically in a worse place. Someone with a broken arm obviously is not dealing with what you're dealing with. And although this show highlights seemingly the worst cases of people, MS, cancers, drug abuse, someone with a broken arm that's not dealt with anything in their life yet, that's a trying time.
Mm-hmm.
And so they too need encouragement. They too need assistance. And they too, above all, need God, regardless.
That's right.
They may have a 6-week cast, but they need God. They needed God before. They need Him during, and they're going to need Him after. And so our faith is going to help us through everything. It's not going to be the answer to everything physically, but it will help us through everything spiritually, and that's ultimately what God cares about. It's what matters, what should matter to us. And so I just appreciate Miss Patricia and you. And Miss Patricia, I just want to say this. Miss Patricia to me, and I really believe I could see her today, and I would still see my kindergarten Bible class teacher. That's the way I remember, regardless of what her body changes into and that type of thing. That's who she is, and she is a caring individual, and she needs your prayers. Brother Jackie needs our prayers every day.
Yeah, sure do.
And he admits he struggles, but at the same time, he knows the source. The source and the answer to those struggles is going to be God ultimately. And so I just appreciate y'all's faith. And that's absolutely why I decide, and I get to decide these things. I get to decide this man's a Friday's fighter. And so he deserves our prayers and our comfort. And by the way, if you're struggling with anything, it doesn't matter what it is, but especially in this case, being a victim of MS or a spouse of one who is, Brother Jackie's here to help. You contact me. I'll have some numbers on the screen probably right now. You contact me, and he'd be willing to help. He's also excited about the possibility of helping people who have to spend a lot of time in hospitals and home health cares and hospice, dealing with that type of thing. That whole side of the world can be frustrating if you've never been there. And this man's got 11 years experience with that. And so any questions that you can have or any way he can support, he'd love to sit down and talk to you sometime, some way, and even present some material to you to help you deal with those situations. So I just want to thank you for being here and for opening up with what we're able to do. Of course, very limited on time.
Yeah.
Much more to tell. And I know that we're not able to get across the severity of Miss Patricia's condition. But at the same time, it's not as sad of a case as it could be because she knows God. And so she's looking for her reward at some point someday. And so we do. So again, this has been your Friday's Fighters, and I hope that you've been encouraged.
I am a hard-fighting soldier on the battlefield. I am a hard-fighting soldier on the battlefield. hard-fighting soldier. On the battlefield, I keep on bringing souls to Jesus by the service that I give.